I think the most inspiring texts in John to preach are any of those stories in which Jesus encounters a person and there's some questioning and stumbling, and then there's a declaration by Jesus, a revelatory word, I am the bread of life. Because, for example, that comes after the feeding of the 5,000. And he's done this amazing thing, and people are looking for him, trying to find him, but they don't get him. They don't know what they've seen. They don't understand what this meant. And it takes a clarifying word of Jesus, a revelatory word, to let them know who he is, what they've seen, what it means. And to me, these are great stories, both of who Jesus is, but also of his grace for us, that he would make these things known, that he wouldn't leave people stumbling in the dark. And there's plenty of people who stumble around in the Gospel of John. Nicodemus, the Pharisees, you know, a man born blind. In some ways, they're all stumbling in the dark, reaching for the light. And Jesus lets it be known. He is the light of the world. He is the good shepherd. He goes out and seeks people. And so those texts that climax in John with an I am statement, or that lead to a revelation of his life-giving power. It can even be as simple as in John 4, the healing of the official son, in which Jesus doesn't say much of anything dramatic. But that man is healed when Jesus speaks the word. And I think you could do a lot with that simply. It is the life-giving power of Jesus' word upon which that man is dependent, as are all of us. And those are the kind of texts I like in John. I suspect many people do preach series on the I am sayings of John. And when they do, they are in some ways taking those texts out of context, because they cluster unevenly. And you don't get the first one till chapter 6. Which is going to mean you're going to have left 5 chapters untouched, the whole build-up to the narrative. And so somehow a preacher needs to set the context for those I am statements. When Jesus finally in John 6 says, I am the bread of life, we've had a whole narrative up to that point. And if you just start in John 6, that leaves all that story out. And I think you would lose a bit of the impact of that first revelatory statement. Likewise in John 8, when Jesus says, before Abraham was, I am. That's a wonderful statement. It comes after one of the hardest chapters in the Gospel of John, Jesus in controversy with the Jews. And that may be the hardest passage in John to preach, but does one leave that out in order to get to the real meaty stuff? That seems a little unfair, in a sense, to jump over that kind of material, hard material, to get to the revelatory material. So I think there is some danger in preaching a series on the I am statements that would lift those things out of context, as if Jesus simply went around pontificating. These things arose in situations of people looking and questing and seeking. And if you lose that sense and just have Jesus making pronouncements, I think you'll give a picture of Jesus that the gospel itself doesn't give.